And he showed me, this was back when I was in West Texas still, and he showed me this town, this small town, and he gave me the names of people that lived there. And he said, you have to contact them. And he gave me a message for him, and he said, you have to tell them this. You have to get this message to them. And as I was beginning to wake up and the dream begins to end, he's literally screaming at me in the dream, and he says, you must call them. You have to do this. You have to get this message to them. So I woke up and I'm like, wow, how bizarre is that? So I went, and we had a big phone book that encompassed the surrounding towns, the little small towns. So I went and I looked up the phone book for that town and looked for the name, and lo and behold, there it was. So I was like, okay, now what do I do with this? You know, this is West Texas and way back when, and people are kind of, you know, juberous about the paranormal and all such type claims, and I could just see some old tired farmer coming in from the field and me calling him about some ghostly dream I'd had and some message, and him going, where are you at, boy? Well, he's loading the shotgun. So I'm a little reluctant to make the call, but I said, well, I feel like I have to discharge this. So I called, and no answer. No voicemail, no answering machine or anything.
Nothing, yeah.
Nothing. And I said, well, this is not too unexpected maybe for this, because farming community, maybe they're out working and whatever, so I'll try around dinner time. Called, nothing. And called various times of the day, various times during the evening. I even called the operator and I said, can you check and tell me if this number is in service and working? And she assured me that it was. But every time I called, no matter how long it was, no voicemail, no answering machine, and nobody ever answered. So I finally just told the guy on the other side, I said, look, I'm sorry, I tried. I don't know what happened here, but, you know, can't reach it, can't do it. So.
Talking about clouds earlier, you're amazed by clouds. You know how sometimes we look back, John, and we see faces in the cloud, but they're the cloud that looks like faces. Right. You see something else, don't you?
Yeah, I have a photograph. While I was, you know, I'm also an artist and a photographer, and I had started doing this thing with my cameras, which you're not supposed to do. You're not supposed to look right at the sun because you burn your retinas.
That's right.
You can also burn out the sensor in a digital camera doing that. But I got fascinated by sun flare and by shooting into the sun and doing various techniques with that and so on and so forth. And so we were out at this air show, and I was photographing the planes, and the sun was up there, and the clouds were arranged around it, kind of neat. And so I put the camera up and shot it, and then went on shooting the rest of my shots that I wanted to take that day. Got home and uploaded everything to the computer and was going through those, and I came to the ones with the clouds and the sun, and I enlarged it. Something caught my eye, and I enlarged it, and I nearly jumped out of my chair when I saw this. You know, we say, okay, there's a cloud. Oh, it kind of looks like a turtle. Oh, yeah, I see that. That might be the head, and da-da-da-da-da. Well, this is not a cloud that looks like somebody. This is a being manifesting in the cloud. It's got its face.
Like an actual person, face looking down.
Its eyes, pupils, nostrils, nose, lips, everything, staring down at me while I'm shooting this, and I'm like, holy cow, there are beings up there. These sky, you know, you hear the Native Americans talk about the sky people, the sky beings all the time. And not just in reference to UFOs, not just in reference.
Now, who sees this? You or everybody around you?
Nobody saw this at the time that I shot it, and I was using a telephoto lens, so it was not something that you would look up and readily see. But in the photo that I uploaded, you can see it perfectly plainly, perfectly clearly, and it's really shocking. It's really amazing. And so I've had enough of those experiences to let me know, hey, there are spirits, entities, beings, whatever up there that make their presences known. And like I say, there's been various cultures that have talked about the sky people for, you know, forever and a day. Yeah. So, but to get the photographic evidence of that, it just kind of blew my mind.
That's crazy. Now, you also had a bizarre ghostly apparition standing around a stove or something?
Yeah, I would come in at night, and this was in my old house when my sister and I had moved back home. And my mother was becoming bedfast, and we would take care of her. And I would go out at night and go to the clubs and come in. And when I came in, we had a nightlight in the kitchen. I'd be walking up the sidewalk to the kitchen, and I would see this figure at the stove that appeared to be cooking. and walking back and forth in the kitchen, but no light on and just the night lights low. And it was like, the first time I saw this, I was like, well, why would my sister be cooking in the dark? Why didn't she turn the light on?
Turn the light on, so she doesn't burn herself or something.
Yeah, so I go up and I open the door and nobody's in there, and I thought, well, she must have finished doing what she was doing and went back into her apartment there. And so this occurred again and again, and the next time it happened, I kind of, okay. And I went over and I kind of peeked through my sister's window in the apartment there, and I could see her sitting on the couch watching TV while this figure's walking around in the kitchen. I'm like, okay, it's not my sister, it's a ghost. So then after that, when I would be in bed, we would hear these sounds, and somebody would walk into the kitchen. There would be the dishes rattled, cupboard doors open and close, and then walk out. And so my mother one night, I was in my bedroom trying to go to sleep, and my mother's in her room, and she called out to my sister and said, hey, can you bring me something while you're in there? And it got real quiet in the kitchen, and my mother called my sister's name again and said, hey, are you still there? Can you bring me something out of the kitchen? And nothing. And so the next day my mother said, why didn't you answer me last night? I asked you to bring me something from the kitchen. And my sister looked at her funny. She said, I wasn't in the kitchen last night. And so from then on, we would hear these noises, a hungry ghost, I guess, and we would hear these noises, cupboard doors opening, closing, the dishes rattling, glasses rattling, and any time that we made any type of move toward the kitchen or tried to see what was going on, the noise would stop, instantly stop. And so we just chalked it up to a hungry ghost coming in and trying to find some food, I guess.
I love it. John, where do people get your books?
They can go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, anywhere online. Any of the major booksellers carry it. You can get it at Target and Walmart online. If you want to know more about it, you can go to writingwithghosts.net, and there's links there to buy it. It tells you all about the book. You can read the first chapter for free. knockintheattic.net is the second book, and likewise, same information there. And they can get them there, and I think they'll enjoy the read a lot.
All right, let's take some calls when we come back, and questions, ghost stories. Also, if you want a reading, just ask John one specific question. We'll be right back.
Find out more about tonight's guest. Log on to coasttocoastam.com.
Okay? And the answer is Monopoly money okay? Bill Handle. Mornings from 6 to 10 on KFI.
The Delta variant is making COVID-19 spread faster and more easily. Variants can be more contagious, aggressive, and deadly. But we know vaccines work. Vaccinated Californians have greater protection against serious illness, hospitalization, and death. We can help stop the spread and end this pandemic. Get vaccinated and wear a mask when it can protect you and others. Find a vaccine near you at myturn.ca.gov. Brought to you by the California Department of Public Health.
AMCO presents Bet You Didn't Know.
Bet you didn't know that your car's transmission is made up of 800 pieces. Also, bet you didn't know that AMCO's fixed over 40 million transmissions, and that AMCO offers a nationwide warranty.
And AMCO offers payment plan options for almost any credit situation, so it's easier than ever to fix it fast and pay it off slow.
That's AMCO, AA, MCO. Before I started Rooter Hero Plumbing, I was an angry young man. Hello, I'm John Aclan. I was angry because my dad died when I was 17 and he left me alone. I was angry because I couldn't go to college with my friends, and because I had to drop out of high school. It's not a pleasant story. But as I grew older, I also grew up. I realized that my dad didn't leave me alone. He left me with values and principles that continue to shape my life. Dad said, be on time. He didn't like it when people were late. He taught me to be polite. It was something I lost, but recaptured along the way. And he taught me to keep my promises, because broken promises lead to broken relationships. We teach and keep these values at Rooter Hero Plumbing. I think we have a pretty good company. I know we have great people. And if one of our heroes fails to live up to these values, please call me. My private number is on the back of every Rooter Hero business card. You can also reach us at rooterhero.com. Thank you.
CL 102-8886.
If it doesn't affect you, we're not interested. KFI and KOST HD2, Los Angeles, Orange County. It's time for your morning wake-up call.
Here's Chris Little.
It is KFI AM 640, live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Good morning. This is your wake-up call for Friday, October 15th, with some wake-up music from Joe Satriani. I'm Chris Little in for Jennifer Jones-Lee. Before we get going, I'd like to give a shout-out to some big KFI fans. People with goofy names like Stu Schlappy, Jeff Walden, Kenny Nichols, Mike Fournier, Bruce Gove, Bob Evans, Kevin Curtis, and Phil Majors. I'm usually having coffee and bragging about my mountain biking skills on Friday mornings with most of these guys. And while I'm mentioning names, a big thank you to producer Alex Razzo and technical director Tyler Whitman for all they have done to help me through this week, through this crazy hour in Handle on the News, along with Handle on the News Late Edition. I look forward to Jennifer's return on Tuesday, which unfortunately, or fortunately, I've actually enjoyed. It means I'm going to be working on Monday. Here's some of the stories we're following in the KFI newsroom. The top story, the Dodgers won. Now they go to Atlanta to face the Braves in the National League Championship Series. Former President Clinton is in the hospital in Orange County. Doctors say it is not COVID-related. It is a blood infection, sometimes referred to as sepsis, that started with a urinary tract infection. Real estate heir Robert Durst has been sentenced to life in prison for killing his best friend. He's probably not going to be there long because he's 78. At 5:05, we will talk with ABC's Alex Crochet. President Biden gave an update on the latest COVID-19 statistics and took credit for the recent progress. He also mentions the Labor Department's going to, as he puts it, soon issue the OSHA rule that will require businesses with 100 or more employees to have their employees vaxxed or get tested once a week. But first, let's take a look at some of the top stories coming out of the KFI. Watch this live on the radio. Water. These are some of the top stories coming out of the KFI 24-hour newsroom. LA City Councilman Mark Ridley Thomas says he was shocked by the news of his federal indictment.
Ridley Thomas's attorney, Michael Proctor, sent KFI News a statement that read in part that at no point in his career as an elected official, not as a member of City Council, the state legislature, or the Board of Supervisors, has Ridley Thomas abused his position for personal gain. Proctor asked the public to allow due process to take its course. On Wednesday, Ridley Thomas was notified of a 20-count indictment accusing him of abusing his office as a county supervisor to get his son a master's degree and paid professorship at USC by funneling county contracts to the university's School of Social Work. Steve Gregory, KFI News.
A man has been arrested for starting a fire in the Hollywood Hills. The LAPD says the brush fire burned about an acre. No injuries, no buildings damaged. LA County Health Director Dr. Barbara Ferrer says fewer people are showing up for the COVID-19 vaccine.
It does indicate that our vaccination progress is still going much more slowly than we need it to go, despite all of our best efforts.
Ferrer says 70% of residents 12 and older are fully vaccinated, but that number needs to go up in order to slow or stop the spread of the virus. Ferrer says mistrust and misinfo are contributing to the lower number of vaccinations. COVID-19 has been harmful to Americans, not just ones who've gotten it.
A new study says Americans drank more, smoked more, watched more TV, and exercised less during the pandemic. Researchers from UCLA say business closures and stay-at-home orders provided just the incentive to do pretty much nothing. Exercise dropped by more than 31% compared to pre-pandemic time. Alcohol intake increased more than 23%. Smoking increased by 9%, and screen time, TV, laptop, phone, etc., went up more than 60%. One good thing from the study was eating fast food, which dropped about 31%. Michael Crozier, KFI News.
When we come back, we'll be talking with ABC's Alex Brachet. President Biden gave an update on the latest COVID-19 stats and took some credit for recent progress. And he mentioned the Labor Department will, as he puts it, soon issue the OSHA rule that will require businesses with 100 or more employees to have their employees vaxxed or get tested once a week. But first, we're going to see if your drive is still in Zen mode. Hey, Nick, what's up on the 5?
Hey, Chris, it is more so Zen now, if you will. On the 5 South transition in Boyle Heights to the 10 East connector, it is a big wreck that's been cleared from lanes of the roadway and not seeing any major slowing sticking around from that earlier problem. If you're encountering otherwise, though, or something else is slowing you down, pound 250 on the cell phone, keyword KFI traffic, westbound side of the 91, starting to get in on the action early. Light and patchy for your drive-in stretches as you make your way coming away from the 15, 91 westbound, and as you make your way towards the 241 toll road. Further westbound on the 91 looks relatively decent as you continue through the Santa Canyon, Yorba Linda, and Anaheim Hills towards the 55. KFI in the sky helps get you there faster. I'm Nicole O'Keefe.
5:06 on your wake-up call. Let's say good morning to ABC's Alex Brachet. President Biden has given an update on the latest COVID-19 stats. Alex, what did he have to say?
Well, so he took a little bit of a victory lap, saying that falling cases are due to vaccination requirements from businesses. But look, nationally, cases are down about 47%. Hospitalizations are down about 38% over the past 6 weeks. And the White House is hoping that those numbers will get even better with some of the new requirements coming down from the Labor Department regarding OSHA. You remember a while back the president announced that he was going to be requiring businesses with 100 more employees to institute vaccinations or weekly testing policies. Well, that requirement is supposed to roll out sometime soon. We don't have a specific timeline for it, but it's coming. It's something else that the White House is hoping is going to improve these numbers is the review process on Moderna and J&J vaccine boosters. And then the third big thing that we're waiting on, which we do have a tentative timeline on, is a decision for vaccinations for children aged 5 to 11. The White House had a call with governors across the country earlier this week telling states to be ready to begin distributing those vaccines as early as the beginning of November, which could be the earliest date for the CDC and the FDA to give the green light there.
So you mentioned the Labor Department will, as he put it, soon issue the OSHA rule that will, require the businesses with 100 more employees to, have them vaccinated or get tests. And I know you said there's no timeline, and he said soon, but any guess on what we're thinking?
Chris, I wish I could give you something a little bit more concrete, but we don't have any specific guidance on when this will be adopted. So those rules got submitted to the Labor Department earlier this week, and the process generally could take a week or so. But for me to actually give you like a concrete timeline, it just wouldn't be accurate. What I can say is that as soon as those rules are adopted, they do go into effect. So it is an immediate. It's an immediate institution of these rules. It's just that we don't know when they'll be coming down.
Okay. In July, the president said federal workers needed to be vaccinated to get tested regularly, and in September he said they needed to be vaccinated or face losing their jobs, and that employees at big companies needed to get vaccinated or tested weekly. So we're all waiting for that to happen, I guess. And so what did he say about, I think he said that more needs to be done to get 66 million people who are eligible but still unvaccinated to get a shot. Was he pushing that?
Yeah, well, and look, the White House has consistently said since maybe the beginning of the summer that this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated, and certainly we heard it from them a lot whenever we saw those spikes with cases from the Delta variant in August and in September. And so, for them, a big way to combat that is going to be these OSHA rules that come out. And certainly, the White House has praised companies that have adhered to federal guidelines whenever it comes to, or federal guidance whenever it comes to vaccination mandates. right? Certainly, the Southwest and American and Texas kind of come to mind there. But again, I mean, I think for them, another big frontier is going to be vaccinations for children aged 5 to 11 and getting the green light there. It's an estimated 28 million doses of the Pfizer vaccine that could roll out for that age group. And so, I mean, that is a substantial population.
Does it appear that, obviously, more people are taking the vaccine, but does it appear that the barriers are breaking down for some of those who aren't so interested?
Well, I think that certainly vaccination rates are going up, right? But, I mean, last check, there's still, I believe it's like 60 million that are unvaccinated. And so, how do you reach that population? I think, we've heard from health experts and members of the administration that have kind of acknowledged that, there'll be a certain population that's resistant to the end. But for those that still, for, one reason or another are on the fence now, and maybe a mandate from this OSHA, these new OSHA rules could tip the scales. I mean, they're hoping that will kind of force the issue. I mean, I think something that was brought up. We're talking about even with TSA workers, there was a stat coming out that I think it's 40% are unvaccinated, and we're heading into this November deadline. We had a similar statistics, not similar statistics, but comparable statistics in New York City with teachers. And you notice the closer we got to that deadline with New York City teachers, the vaccination went up and got into the 90s. I think it got as high as like 94%. And so, I mean, I think for the White House, when we get close to the deadline, those rules get stated, that you'll see those numbers go up drastically.
Yeah, we're getting close. Alex, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, back to some of the stories coming out of the KFI 24-hour newsroom. The 101 has been reopened. Firefighters made some progress against the fire, which was burning in the Santa Ynez Mountains in the Santa Barbara County. The fire is 11% surrounded and has burned 26 square miles. 4 people have been critically hurt. That happened when a plane went down near a private airstrip in Sacramento County. The crash happened yesterday afternoon. Nebraska Governor Pete Ricketts has issued a new executive order related to the pandemic-driven hospital capacity emergency that was declared in August. The new order waives certain regulations to allow more practitioners to help treat Nebraskans with COVID-19 and other illnesses. A number of professions, including alcohol and drug counselors and physical therapists, are going to be allowed to practice in Nebraska even if they are not licensed in state. The executive order is in effect through the end of next year. Uh-oh. Trouble for the Queen. Queen Elizabeth is 95, and she rules an entire commonwealth of 54 countries. And you would think she could do whatever she wants. At least that's the word around here. That's the feeling around here. Leave her alone. But her doctors are advising her to give up her daily cocktail. They say she's not a heavy drinker. She likes to have a champagne nightcap before bed. And she usually has a martini every day. Sounds like a good life. As for now, people might be happy to know that she prefers a triple Dubonnet and gin with a slice of lemon and a lot of ice, or a bone-dry martini. Now, I used to be a bartender, and this guy was a regular, and I would make him a dry martini, and the way he wanted it made dry was, he told me, just take the vermouth and just wave it over the glass. But don't put any vermouth in there. So that was a super dry martini. He loved that. Oh, by the way, Pink Floyd legend Roger Waters is getting married, or actually got married. He's 78. His new bride is 43. I think Waters has been married at least 4 times, maybe 5 times this month. So he went on Instagram and wrote, "I'm so